Alright, good afternoon. Welcome back to Three Swords Gaming. So, new expansion, and that means we will continue our personal story playthrough in Guild Wars 2. Just continuing to track the story as it plays out, unrelated to like some of the other endgame stuff, not doing raids and strikes and so forth, but we are continuing to track the story. So, before I dive too deep into the story, a few quick notes. One, hopefully I have addressed some of the more recent through Soto and Janthier Wilds. I paid very little attention to like production quality. I didn't fix the resolution of the videos that I was capturing, and the volume was kind of out of whack, and so I've tried to kind of address some of that stuff and bring that back to where it should be entering Visions of Eternity, because it was actually pretty poor, which kind of showed my level of interest in Guild Wars during that time. But I have kind of come back around to Guild Wars 2 and really kind of leaned into it a little bit more, partially because Visions of Eternity is off to a good start, and I'm enjoying it. So hopefully it looks and sounds a little bit better. The other thing of note is related to that, which is Visions of Eternity is actually off to a pretty good start, it seems. Now, I will point out that both Soto and Janthier Wilds also started strong and both tailed off a little bit. Soto tailed off wildly, like it ended bad. It almost felt like Icebrood Saga, in that Icebrood Saga started very, very well, and then ended up disastrously bad towards the second half. And Soto was close to that, where Soto maybe didn't start quite as good and didn't end quite as bad, but had a similar trajectory. My hope is that Visions of Eternity doesn't tail off so bad, and also doesn't, I hope it's more balanced. I hope it's consistently good, and it's off to a good start. People seem to be liking it. There seems to be a lot of positivity around it, and I think that's enhanced by a lot of new players jumping into Guild Wars 2 with New World sunsetting and with some increased publicity around Guild Wars 2. So let's go ahead and get rolling into the story. I don't want to yap for too long, because the story is pretty good, and I'm excited to get into it. I've played all the way through it in my main account, and I've been messing around with it on another account. There are a few times when there's going to be some
everything you need right here.
Things where I'll probably cut video for a little bit. You still have to complete some masteries, and there's some other stuff like that, but that's pretty normal, so we'll cross that bridge as we get to it. Alright, we got mail. Oh, it's time for Extra Life. Okay, cool. So all this is they change the coins with each expansion. The unusual coins become ancient coins, and that's to make... So this is to make... As things get older, it makes them more accessible to players. So, like, this has made the Soto Legendary Armor more accessible, because now you can get that currency from multiple expansions. What you can't do is get that currency from Visions of Eternity, because it will be unusual coins in Visions of Eternity. But now both Soto and Janthier Wilds, and actually End of Dragons as well, all have ancient coins at this point. So again, it makes things more accessible, while also maintaining the exclusivity for people who want to rush things, if that makes sense. And yeah, the music in your homestead, cool. Much fun. So speaking of the homestead, I was expecting the new homestead to be like accessed through the story, and it's actually not. But let's not enter it quite yet. Let's wait till we're actually in Castora to enter the new homestead. I like it more. While I really enjoyed like the Nordic, Icelandic sort of vibe of Janthier Wilds, I really liked it. The homestead in Visions of Eternity, I think I actually like a little more. Alright, let's get the story rolling. Begin it. And we get mail. Now, what we don't have is immediate audio, which I'm grateful for, because I had a tendency to miss that in videos. So instead, we just get mail. Royalty from the Dominion of Winds has taken a keen interest. Now, this male, I want to point this out. This male is different depending on your class. We are getting this male because we are, for this particular playthrough, we are a ranger. If I were a necromancer or an elementalist or a warrior or whatever, it would be different, and where we would be going would be different, right? And we'll kind of see that here in a second. Royalty from the Dominion of Winds has taken a keen interest in recent developments within the Tyrian Alliance. They are very impressed by your heroics in Janthir. Well, I was impressed too. I'm pretty amazing. As a gesture of good faith, an old friend of mine will be traveling to meet with you and other esteemed rangers from the Alliance. As a fellow wanderer of the wilds, I imagine you'll have much to bond over. You can find him in Lion's Arch. Okay. Then we will find him in Lion's Arch. So, for a ranger, let's see. That person is over here. You can see if you were a thief, that person is right here. For Necromancer, which is what I honestly usually main. I don't think of myself as having a main, but truthfully I do, and it's Necromancer. That person is over here. Plaza, Grenth, and Divinity's Reach, right? Okay, let's make this easy by waypointing. And so this is a peculiar start. I have to say, this is a really weird start to the expansion. In that it gives the impression, I'm going to fix the volume 1 second. Okay, the tiniest adjustment. All right. It gives the impression that this is critical to the story, and it's not. What they're doing is they're just leading off. They're leaning into the new elite specs. Now, I did a video after my playthrough of Janthir Wilds about new elite specs, and I had some predictions which were really wrong. The one thing I had right is that they weren't rolling out new weapons with the elite specs, because that didn't make a lot of sense. I think that was probably pretty obvious. But they do... But it's definitely not unarmed, which I admitted even at the time was a really weird prediction and highly unlikely, but definitely they didn't do that. So there's just elite specs without weapons associated with them, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm not super amped about most of the new elite specs. I'm not playing any of them on my main account. I've unlocked them on about 25 out of my 70 some odd characters. And that's because the hero points are very, very easy to get, which I think is a very good thing. But I'm not actually playing them because I don't find them that interesting. Pero, what's up, buddy?
Yes, Commander. Look at you.
Awkward.
Pardon my candor. You are not what I imagine when I visualize a commander. Not those from the Dominion of Winds. Peril at your service. Calidris told me you had kind eyes, but I did not expect them to be so journeyed.
You'll need to give her my best. Now, how can I help you?
I am an archer of the royal house. We still contemplate our role in Tyrian politics, but there are many who wish to participate. I've come on behalf of Gavia, a great warrior from our people, to teach you the art of the gale shot, to share our culture with you. Our soldiers are all adept archers, like myself, but the bows that we wield are different from what you may expect. Harnessing powerful squall magic that enchants our forests, we summon a bow spun from wind to guide our arrows. It may be tricky without a talon to draw your bow, but here, may I teach you more?
And that's that. So the very interesting thing, if you can talk to him more, and there will be dialogue here, which I'm not going to read because it's not actually related to the story. It's just See, same thing over again. It's just an introduction, like, hey, by the way, you have a new elite spec. They tied all the elite specs to this whole concept of the Alliance of Tyria, and so it's kind of a big deal that the Tengu are involved, although notably, like, the Tengu aren't involved enough to where Dominion of Winds, which is, where's Dominion of Winds? Like, right here, actually opens up in any way. Oddly, this is supposed to be like a gate to Dominion of Winds, but which I guess this technically is locked to, I think. So maybe this and this or something, but like Claw Island is accessible, South Sun Cove is accessible, it's just this and a little bit right here. Anyway, maybe they'll get around to that one day. I don't know. What I do know is that's not actually relevant to the story, but it is how the story starts. So now we get some mail. Commander, I have some business I'd like to discuss with you. It involves the Captain's Council, so your discretion is appreciated. Mind meeting me near the Bay Docks in Lion's Arch? The sooner the better. Lawson. So that's Mariner Lawson, a member of the Lion's Arch Captain Council, and in fact the representative from that council to the Tyrian Alliance. Like during Janthier Wilds and Secrets of the Obscure, we would have seen him in those meetings, right? I don't remember exactly where the story start thing is. So I guess we'll run around until we find it. Ah, there it is. I took a wrong turn, didn't I? No. Annoying. There we go. Over by Reef Fire Dancer.
We just want to know where this cargo's headed. Maybe give us a little peek, yeah?
That's between me and me captain.
Magnus has claim on this port.
Magnus who? I don't see anyone.
You'd get along much better with folks on Laughing Gull. Lion's Arch is for sensible mariners.
Listen here.
Stand down, Kiango. Don't make me clean up your mess. This isn't Istan. I'd recommend you all find some work to do. Elsewhere.
You heard, Mum, yeah? Time to get back in line.
Scram. Or should I tell the Captain's Council that their underlings' loyalty is cheap? Ah, Commander. Guess you got Lawson's message. Sorry about this. They'll behave.
You can actually follow. In fact, we can do that because Saeed is going to wait on us. If we follow these folks until they wander off, there's actually an achievement for that. Don't know why, but it's one of those achievements they include sometimes just for people who are like kind of curious and do curious things. So it's kind of a fun thing, I guess.
Just one more confirmation of how
So
great
there we
I
go.
am.
Escort the dock thugs out after their spat with Saeed's crew. So, interestingly, they did not seem like thugs exactly. It seemed like Kiango and Saeed's crew were extorting them. So, not sure I fully understand. Maybe Saeed can provide some insight.
Saida, what are you doing here?
Bought myself a seat on the Captain's Council. Thought it was time I flexed my political artistry. Maybe make a coin or two.
They let you do that?
Well, technically Peter gave me his seat, and I replaced the Capricorn for him. A win-win. The boy needed some sea air.
I bet Nashblade has thoughts.
Taken care of. I convinced the council that we need a 9th seat again to accommodate Cantha's integration into the trade circuit. Nothing is official, but Nashblade will be the first name on the ballot. Rumors about a Canthan candidate too, some gang leader. But now I have a nose in all of Lion's Arch's business. It's seafaring business anyway. That's why Lawson called for you.
Should I be nervous?
Maybe. I witnessed some unscheduled departures while overseeing an alliance trade. All of them were manned by Inquest. The ships joined with 3 other Inquest vessels to the south, and then the whole fleet departed shortly after. I don't trust those miscreants as far as I can throw them. Not after what we witnessed in the Isles.
So I should be nervous. That doesn't sound good.
Say, I need to wrap things up here. Canuck should be somewhere nearby. Can't keep track of that one. I'll catch up shortly.
So I have thoughts. One, if you go way back, like Season 1, when Season 1 was happening live, there was an election between Ellen and Evan Nashblade, Ellen Keel and Evan Nashblade for that seat on the council. Ellen won, Nashblade did not, and that was voted by the players. And it was a really interesting thing because, like, you could earn more votes by, like, playing events and stuff. You'd get little, like it was an item that you could get. And some people still have them, and they have a lot of pride in them. Oh, I have a key. Look at that. You know, they go to their inventory, and they would actually have, like, some of those items still. You know, ballot for Ellen or a ballot for Evan. They tied the studio. I mean, tied other things to that election. For example, the Thumanova reactor fractal was introduced because Ellen won the election. Had Evan Nashblade won the election, the fractal would have been the fall of Abaddon, if I remember correctly. So years and years later now, we're talking like 10, 11 at least, if not 12 years later, now we're looking at a situation where both Evan and Ellen would be on the council. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think anyone cares at this point. It's just interesting that after a decade, now we're coming back around and putting the other one on the council and stuff. So just a little bit of ancient history there in terms of, you know, by Guild Wars 2 standards, ancient history in terms of what's going on there. And then I think the Canthan candidate that might also compete for that is probably, I can't remember the guy's name because I don't care about the guy's name, to be quite frank. But when we were in, like, End of Dragons, and we did this whole Gayala Delve thing, and, like, there was the Jade Brotherhood guy who was, like, being driven crazy by, you know, by like, the corrupted heir or whatever in Gayala Delve. I think that's probably who they're referencing when they say a Canthan gang leader. I can't be certain, but I think that's probably what that reference is. I genuinely don't remember his name because I did not enjoy that particular DLC, that kind of extension of End of Dragons. I didn't really enjoy that much at all. It's not a terrible map, but that toxic fog makes the map awful. They could have left that mechanic out, and the map would have been significantly more enjoyable. Finally, I don't know, and I don't want to just punch holes in the story because it is a much better story than we've had recently, but I don't know why Saida in particular cares about the Inquest. Said is a pirate, and there will be points in time later on in the story, in the Visions of Eternity story, when we kind of point out the hypocrisy of Saida caring so much about the Inquest's nefarious activities. And actually, it's not even us. It's Canuck here who does it. So it's like the studio wanted a character to play a particular role and chose Saida, even though Saida is not a great match for that role. They could have had other options. Like, quite frankly, and maybe it's because Saida would have had access to the port, so it's a nice segue for, like, the Inquest fleet. But there were other options. You could have done a number of things, and this concern over the Inquest would have made a lot more sense than it does coming from Saida. Alright, Canuck, how can I see you without, like, laundry being in the way? There we go. Hey, buddy, do you know anything about the Inquest? What's going on here?
I heard you were skulking nearby. Did you also buy a seat on the Captain's Council?
Darling, does this look like the face of a man with a day job? No. I purchased myself a ship. I named her Martingale. Her anchor is dark steel. Her deck is covered in the finest elderwood. Ah, the smell. There are a number of splendors to be had from a good vessel. The vacations, the gambling opportunities, the business ventures. Or were you looking for my take on the whole Inquest debacle? I just wanted some fresh air. Talk to Lawson for that business.
Okay, not a very productive conversation, but what does it serve to do? Well, it serves
Is
to...
it just me, or
oh, actually, I think this is relevant to the story. To bring Canuck back into the story, right? So I've heard some folks make some observations about, like, the random people that we end up with in this story, and that's kind of what I was getting at with the Saida thing. I think Canuck's a good fit, even if I'm not sure Saida is. But with it being a seafaring adventure, maybe Said is not that bad. I do like where Canuck fits into all this. So this notice of unusual activity. There are 5 unscheduled departures from Sanctum Harbor in the morning hours on the day of the trade summit between Canthe and Alona. I have my technician intercept one of the ship's signals. So this annoys me about Guild Wars 2. Always has, always will. Particularly annoyed me during End of Dragons. It always annoyed me with Timy's communicator, which continues, by the way, and always will continue. So we get plenty of the communicator in this expansion too. The studio introduces technology and then removes that technology, like in a world that doesn't have horses and uses sailing ships like this and stuff. But here we have like signals intercept, like nation state actor levels of like interception. Like it's an absurdity, right? And that's always bothered me, and I understand it's a fantasy game, but one of the rules of writing fantasy or science fiction is that your constructs have to make sense, and you adhere to your own constructs and you don't change them on a whim. And while I think ArenaNet's world building is top notch, this is one area where it's weak, is they're constantly bending the rules of their own world, and that is off-putting. So yeah, signals intercept. We determined that they were manned by 2 notable Inquest crews. I don't know why these Inquest crews are notable. I don't think we get an indication that why these Inquest crews were notable, vice another Inquest crew, but there you go. The ships met with a small fleet of 3 additional vessels, each of a certain origin, before the signal was blocked. So I get blocked, so now we have like collection jamming and stuff. If you have any information, please touch base with myself or Commodore Mariner. Signed, Captain Saida. Okay, so this is like Saida's like testimony here. So I guess she cares a bunch. Alright, Commodore Mariner, Commodore Lawson Mariner. What is happening?
Welcome back to Lion's Arch, Commander.
Thank you.
You all caught up then?
Yes.
Good to see you, Lawson. Saida filled me in on the Inquest, and her new seat on the Captain's Council.
No one is more thrilled about the latter than Peter. As for the Inquest, never been a fan. Pretty crooked lot. I did some digging after Saida came to me. Found records of them purchasing several ships from citizens in Lion's Arch, which is already odd for such an armed organization. Not sure what they need traditional vessels for, but this isn't a group we want to see mobilized, not at this scale. And I don't care how much coin the city took in from those sales.
I should touch base with Counselor Ludo. She might know something.
Ah, I met that one once. Sharp bite.
So I do quite like... Here's where we first get it, and it's going to continue. We get a lot of Ludo in this story, and I enjoy it.
Commander, not a call I would have hypothesized today.
Counselor, you wouldn't happen to know anything about the Inquest purchasing ships in Lion's Arch, would you? They've taken a whole fleet south. I'm there now discussing it with a few captains from the Council.
Inquest purchasing ships. Those old, shriveled, bumbling... The budgeting committee is stingy, but funding's been atypically unforgiving. First, it was cuts to the colleges. Then little snips here and there. I wouldn't be surprised if someone was giving handouts to the Inquest. Alchemy. I have a few ideas. Why don't you meet me in Ratasum? A member of the Arcane Council shouldn't get her hands dirty, but you can.
I'll be there soon.
So why can we get our hands dirty? We're a member of the Tyrian Alliance Council.
Ludo wasn't aware. I'm headed to Ratasum to help her look into this.
I'll join you. I can tell her what Lawson and I found. Canuck, watch the ships.
Oh. Ew.
That might be the best dialogue in the entire expansion.
Is it just me, or am I
Not
amazing?
even kidding. Alright, so let's go talk to Counselor Ludo. Yeah, so we get the communicator there, which I don't like. I made that clear, and I'll try not to harp on it too much. But we do get Ludo, which I do like. Oh, I don't want Skimmer right now. So Skimmer is the mount that they are overhauling with this expansion. I'm going to be honest, I've not found that to be, like, particularly impressive. I'm still not inclined to use the Skimmer very much. But, hey, what do I know, right? Like, I'm terrible at this game. So, there may be some particular advantages to using Skimmer, and I'm just not tracking on those yet. There are some, much like the Warclaw could find, like, buried treasure in Janthir Wilds, the Skimmer can find buried treasure in Visions of Eternity. So, and if you're farming currency for a legendary that's specific to this expansion, you will want to do that. You will want to do that quite a lot, actually.
How are you?
So that is a thing. But otherwise, like, the Skyscale and the Warclaw are so overpowered, there's almost never a situation where you need any other mount than those two. That remains true. And those rare situations, it is actually the Skimmer, and that's just because you're going over a large body of water and it's faster than, you know, swimming or trying to keep up on the Skyscale. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that the mount thing was necessary for this expansion. I think the expansion would have been fine without any of that. But they would have struggled to come up with masteries, which has been an issue for 7 years or so. Since Path of Fire. Path of Fire was the last time that masteries were extraordinary. Since then, they've been just a goal to complete, but without any significant impact to the game.
I appreciate your efficiency, Commander, and friend of Commander.
Captain Saida of the Captain's Council, at your disposal.
The captain has some intel on our Inquest situation. You can trust her.
The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. What have you got?
I was tasked with observing the ley-infused jade filter trade between Cantha and Alona in Lion's Edge.
Right.
Early that morning, I witnessed 5 ships depart the bay. No record of where they were going. They were manned by Inquest. Joined a few other Inquest vessels a ways out. My tech tracked their signal before it was cut. Unfortunately, the trade vessels from Cantha and Alona arrived shortly after, so I had to pivot my attention.
Ah, excellent. Thank you for sharing, Captain. As I told the Commander, things have been odd around here as well. I suspect their funding is coming from somewhere else in Ratasum. If they're seabound, then perhaps we can learn more from the dock workers. The Inquest vessels would have boarded right here.
As good a place to start as any. Let's go.
You know what else boarded right here? We did. When we went to Draconis Mons, we boarded right here, a submarine. Alright, so let's start talking to some dock workers. Asura with blunderbusses is a fun thing. Okay. Captain Ukavi? Captain. Have you noticed anything unusual around here since you've been back?
I guess it's been a little quiet around here. Usually a lot more bickering.
That's not actually helpful. What about you, dock worker?
Yeah, I'm too busy for any of this. Talk to the Inquest if you have any questions for him.
That's actually a fair response, since the Inquest, much like the Sons of Svanir, are pretty overt, and they just kind of hang out. They don't necessarily try to conceal themselves. Maybe I should just talk to Inquest. Shipwright. Anything unusual around here?
Things have been shady around here for sure. Someone stole my lunch 2 days in a row.
There is a small part of me that wishes there was a side quest to find that guy's lunch. Like, no joke. Like, people would do that. So those weird little things are sometimes, like, something, you know, things that people actually lean into. Up to my ears in work. Notice any suspicious activity, perhaps from the Inquest?
Careful now.
Oh my gosh, it's actually Inquest. Didn't see that coming. I mean, obviously I saw it coming, but that's because I played through it before. Though it was not a tremendous surprise the first time I did this instance either. You can only have so many instances that are pure dialogue before you have to do something engaging, right? Saljax. I'm looking for information on Inquest ships that sailed here recently.
Inquest are a real nasty bunch, that's for sure.
Yeah, that doesn't actually address anything I said, but you're not wrong, so thank you. Alright, another dock worker. The fact that you don't have an actual name drastically raises the likelihood of you being an enemy.
Got enough on my plate today, buddy. Try someone with more time to spare.
Not an enemy, just rude. Okay, who's next? Another dock worker?
Don't make a scene.
So I do... Just because I appreciated the way that guy said that, I will point out, voice acting... Which, by the way, it's nice to actually have, like, all the voice acting again, instead of, you know, having it interrupted by the strike. But also, the voice acting in this expansion has been pretty good.
I don't know anything, and you'd be better off if you stopped asking.
Ooh, someone leaned on the shipwright. That's not good. And that includes, like, new voice actors, right? Because, like, I believe Canuck has a new voice actor. Maybe Saida does too. So we hear some new voices also, even if they're returning characters. But Canuck's voice actor, I think, does a fantastic job, as the old one did, assuming they're two different people, which I think they are. They've managed to land good dialogue for Canuck pretty consistently. I would say, even throughout some of the bad, what I thought to be bad story that's happened in the past, Canuck has been pretty consistently good.
I tried to play nice.
Did you? I actually questioned that. Alright, our green bar is almost full. Dockmaster Pata.
My pocket is heavy enough.
Not especially concrete, but validating. I suppose we could head to the Port Authority database. I need to use a little elbow grease, but if we can access the port's terminal, we can leverage their operations log. They should have information on all recent departure activity, along with the appropriate authorizations. We love paperwork in Radasum. The gates simply won't disengage unless you've submitted your paperwork.
Code access. Intruders.
Oh no.
Intruder. Ma'am, I am Arcane Counsel. You can stand down. Commander, you have my full permission to end this swiftly. I shouldn't engage.
Really stupid thing to mention, but it's true. I don't like that these veteran Inquest have larger models.
Time to do some real damage.
Giant Asura are not fun. Like, just give me regular Asura and just make them veterans. Like, drastically prefer that. But that's okay. Whatever. Like, not a big deal. So we get jumped.
Confirmation that we're looking in the right place, I'd say.
I agree, Luda. Alright.
Alright. Let me enter my verification code. What? I have an A2 security clearance. Oh, someone must have manually blocked my identification. Ugh. We'll need a physical access card. Look around. Maybe one of the workers set theirs down.
Okay, so now we gotta find the security card. So there is something that they have done a fantastic job of in Visions of the Eternity. Just as I mentioned a little bit ago, that very starting piece about the elite spec is different with each class, which it should be since it has to do with the elite specs. There are a number of times in the story and in the open world, which is really impressive. Really impressive by recent Guild Wars 2 standards, where your class has an impact on like what's going on. I don't remember. So there are a number of hero points throughout Visions of the Eternity where you can essentially shortcut the hero point or get like some special interaction with the hero point based on your class. I don't actually remember which one Ranger is. Maybe we'll find it when we're playing, because we're probably going to do some events some hero points, stuff like that, while we're progressing through the story. Partially because we're going to need to get masteries to advance the story. Partially because we're going to be moving around the world a lot. And we're going to want to grab that stuff anyway. This is one area where some of these things, like, I don't remember which... A thief, if I remember correctly, a thief can come up from behind this guy and pickpocket him. I don't think the ranger can do it. Yeah. So clearly, there's some interaction to be had there, but not for the ranger. If we were a thief, we would have just pickpocketed the card out of that guy's pocket.
Nothing here.
Instead, we're going to rummage through trash to try and find what we're looking for. If I remember right, it might be back here. Nope. Guess not.
There we go.
Oh. Alright, welcome to the Port Authority Access Terminal. What can I assist you with? I would like a record, or a list of every record recently accessed. I have compiled a list of all recently accessed files, starting with file 9B291H. I will summarize 9B291H. A new Inquest leader has been named, and Inquest productivity has increased. Now, I don't recall that we've ever had any interactions with an Inquest leader in the past. We've had lots of interactions with the Inquest, including, and that goes back to the core story, where like the Crucible of Eternity or something like that. Dungeon. You have interactions with some high-ranking Inquest, and then there was some Sandswept Isles. We had interactions with some Inquest, and including some open world events. But I don't think we've ever had any interaction with an Inquest leader.
It's been an eventful year for the Inquest. It's sad that they're relevant at all these days. But their unorthodox approach to research still garners support in Ratasum. Some, at least.
And I don't want to get ahead of the story, because we're going to get to this. But they do a good job, in my opinion, with the Inquest in this expansion. And obviously, we can already see this is an Inquest-themed expansion. Like, they're going to be significant, right? That's not a surprise to anyone who is paying the slightest bit of attention to this expansion. Welcome to Port Authority Access Terminal. What can I assist you with? Can you summarize the next record? Here's a summary of, that file, right? 9B923T. A storage facility containing Zin's research was recovered from Rada Novus. A few months ago, that research was broken into. The Arcane Council is investigating. New research from Zin? Shocked that wasn't more newsworthy.
Ah, I almost forgot about that incident. Happened when you were in Genthir, Commander. I don't imagine someone like Zin would be pleased with the Inquest misusing his research.
Okay, so, like, within the lore, Zin is a historically notable Asura whose unconventional, envelope-pushing research led to some discoveries that would still be considered novel at this point in Tyria's history, right? Summarize the next file. Of course, accessing file 9B672G. File 9B670, file 9B6, file 9... I'm sorry, I'm unable to read this file. What's happening?
Encrypted. We'll have to go deeper. Commander, the honors?
Fortunately, the commander's a hacker, among other things. So we're going to hack the terminal. Alright. There is a lot. That particular little minigame right there pops up many times in this expansion. I don't know why they made that decision. Maybe they did a little investigation, did a little research of some sort, and discovered that of the various minigames they've thrown at players, the minigame where you're given a sequence and you repeat the sequence, or the minigame where you try to catch things as they pop up, are player's favorite minigames, which are both kind of variations of the same theme, right? Because those two, either the one we just did or the one where, like, opening the chest in Soto, where you, like, it flips them all, and then you quickly identify which one is different. Those pop up a lot in this expansion. I don't mind, because I like both those minigames, too, so I'm not going to complain. Okay, let's pick up where we left off with that file. Alright, file 9B672G. The inquest has been approved for departure. Vessels redacted. Destination redacted. Approver redacted. Huh, lots of information was wiped, but it isn't nothing? I mean, it's kind of nothing. It's nothing new. We knew that they departed. The only thing that might be new here is someone in Radasum approved their departure. They did not just sail out willy-nilly.
Ah, here we go.
Looks like the destination was corrupted.
As was the authoriser's identity. Convenient. The evidence continues to stack. It's all coming together now. For better or worse.
Alright, next file. Here's a summary of file 9B0517F. This is a work order for the Port Authority's operations team to redirect rations from Dock 3, the Tyrian Alliance vessels, to Dock 7. Oh.
I'm supposed to approve or deny all Alliance operations in Radasum. Keep looking.
I like how she uses Buka as a curse there, because it's specifically a pejorative for humans when Asuras say it. So, I'm actually deeply offended, Counselor Ludo. Like, you kiss your mother with that mouth? Jeez. Alright. Who sent the order? File 9B0517F is redirected to file 9B0516F. Allow me to summarize. File 9B0516F. Counselor Yak formally requested that rations be redirected from Tyrian Alliance vessels to the Inquest.
Yak, of course. Why anyone ever supported Inquest being on the Arcane Council, I'll never understand.
So Yak is Inquest. And I wouldn't have known that because I'm not quite that deep into the lore to where I like know the identities of the people on the council. Aside from Flunt, because we've interacted with him quite a bit in the story in the past. Season 2, you know, we deal with Flunt for extended periods of time. Alright, anything else? Apparently it's AI now. We can just say, hey, throw things at us, and it's gonna, you know, encourage us to commit suicide or something. You know, whatever it is that, you know, AI is doing these days. Here's a summary of file 9C0204L. High Counselor Flax has ordered an audit of Port Authority terminal records. Special verification may be needed to access records during the audit. The High Counselor.
The High Counselor, too? Flax, I thought we were above this now. Okay. If Flax is involved somehow, then things are likely more dire than I expected. Officially, I don't condone breaking into the Counselor's office. Unofficially, your options are limited.
The pirate's hard in this one.
We can take a portal downstairs. It'll get us close to the High Counselor's laboratory. We'll strategize from there.
So this is a very small thing that I actually think is very good in terms of ArenaNet, like, doing a good job of putting things together. I feel like a majority of the time in the past, we would have left this instance, move elsewhere in Radasum, and then started a new instance. Instead, we are going to enter a portal in this instance, and it takes us to the next part of the instance. Like, they've gotten a lot better at continuity like that, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Alright, Luda.
His lab is just ahead, but this is as far as I can go. If I were to get caught, that'd be a whole other can of worms. This time of day, the old fart's probably in there with his personal crew. Security will be aggressive. Though they're certainly not letting you in like that. Far too tall. Huh. I'll put a glamour on you. Make you look like one of his crew. Let me know when you're ready, Commander.
Probably best if I stay behind too. One person is less conspicuous.
I've not played this instance in Asura. I'm wondering if she says something other than far too tall if you are Asura. I suspect that is true. Given what, quite frankly, is really good attention to detail so far in Visions of Eternity, I bet that's the case. However, we're human, and so, you know, that's what she says. I haven't played through it on Asura. Some of my accounts have Asura. My main account does not have any Asura. I deleted those. My main account's 100% human now, because I prefer to play that way. As is this account, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let's go. Nice. How do I look?
Be quick.
I look like my hammer got smaller too. How odd. Okay. Mittens didn't get smaller though. Come on, Mittens. Nope, Mittens disappeared. Oh, Mittens back. That citizen should be doing some work instead of staring off into the distance.
Halt! Oh, you here for the crew change? Hurry up. The High Counselor isn't feeling patient today.
And you brought a pet?
Flax is gonna hate that. But hey, it's your retirement ceremony.
I can definitively say the dialogue about the pet doesn't happen on Necromancer. Or what class am I playing through on the other account? I'm Thief. Doesn't happen on Necromancer or Thief. I can say that definitively. Presumably because neither one have pets.
These numbers are substandard. I'm trying to fortify our data collection, not expose it to our competitors.
Yes, sir. We're trying. The waypoint frequencies have never been the most secure, and Cantha...
Cantha? Don't mention Cantha in here. I refuse to compare our legacy of excellence to their gimcrack infrastructure.
Need to get him out of that office.
I have no idea what gimcrack means. Okay, so we need to create a distraction, which will get him out of that office. So we can talk to some folks. Most of these folks will give us clues as far as what will work for creating the distraction. If you had the bad luck, your first playthrough, of going directly to the person who will create the distraction, then I guess you might kind of miss out on that, but you wouldn't miss out on like the most relevant part of it, because you're still going to get the experience of creating that distraction and watching it unfold. And I think that is the most fun part. It actually is kind of fun how this plays out. So, Lab Technician Kep. Don't talk to me, don't look at me, and do not touch anything till we've completed this cycle. What cycle? Can you show me? Walk away. Okay. Alright. Sorry, Kep. Alright, we'll talk to 2 more people and then we'll go to the person. Lab Technician Emi. My ears. Did Flax finally hire another lab tech? It's about time. How do you mean? We're spread so thin here, one of us is bound to make a catastrophic mistake from the pressure. Not me, of course. Oh, what a terrible commotion that would cause. So a little bit of an indication that if we can push someone to make a mistake, that might do the trick, right? Lab Technician Indegi. You're not my shift placement, are you? I've been going for 12 hours and I'm starting to lose feeling in my toes. 12 hours? How are you still functioning? I actually worked 12 hours a couple days ago. I ate 20 pieces of Zytaffy on my last break, just enough to keep my eyes open, but not enough to send me into a fugue state. I like that, actually. Look how tired they looked. If anyone makes a mistake, none of us are going home tonight. Oh, what a ruckus that would be. Okay, we actually haven't got the big clue yet, so we're going to keep talking to people. I want to get the big clue. Are you the new tech from Counselor Zudo's crew? I didn't think you were slated to start for another week. That's definitely me, reporting for duty. Not the best timing, but okay. As soon as we're done with this cycle, I'll give you a tour. Might take a bit, so try not to bother anyone. Especially Zeba. She's angling for a transfer and can't afford to be distracted. Oh, wouldn't want to disrupt her focus. So that's the big clue, right? Zeba is sadly, our victim here. What is it? Can't you see I'm working with some very delicate technology? What kind of technology? The delicate kind. Now go away. I'm trying to focus, please. What happens if you stop focusing so hard? All the alignments would enter a rapid desync, and Flax would have both of our heads. Now scram. Why? Alchemy, what did I just say? Stop distracting me. Okay, guess I won't tell you which lab tech said your ears look funny. And apparently that
I wasn't paying attention.
just pushes her over the edge.
Halted data organization. Zeba, a word. So, what happened here?
I don't know. It was going fine until...
Everyone, stop what you're doing. We are going to stand here and watch her fix it.
That is the most army thing. Like, that...
Intruder
oh, no!
detected.
Come on.
Weird that Flax doesn't hear a huge fight going on in the other room, or recognize that his golems are actively engaging some sort of intruder. But I guess he's really intent on watching Ziba fix her thing. Okay, so the whole reason that we're here is to find more information, and we get our nice little magnifying glass here for 4 things. There's also a 5th thing, which I find immensely pleasing. I have to say, again, if there's one thing that set Visions of Eternity apart from Janthier Wilds and Soto, it's their attention to detail has been so good in this expansion. I think there's other things too. I genuinely think it's definitely better than Soto, probably better than Janthier Wilds so far. But here's another example of, like, attention to detail. It's really fun. Before we get to our 4 clues here, let's go to the office console. One of the open files is an application submitted by Ziba, requesting job transfer to the Applied Development Lab. Based on the submission date, Flax has clearly ignored it. So, since his computer's open, we're going to go ahead and approve the request effective immediately, and give her a salary increase. So we get to make up for what we just put Ziba through. We get to take care of her a little bit, which there's an achievement for. Ziba Deserves Better is the name of the achievement. Find a way to make it up to Ziba for becoming Flax's scapegoat. So it's not just they added a little thing there. It is completely relevant to the story and satisfying to the player. I love that. That is really, really, really good. And it is such a small thing. And a lot of players might miss it because it doesn't have the magnifying glass over it. I actually found it the first time because I was kind of skipping things. I wasn't going to read the clues, and I was standing here and I was just hitting F, and it triggered the console instead of the letters, and I got the achievement, but then it caused me to actually look at it, and really just, like, a gratifying experience. Really good job on the part of BarinaNet. Alright, meeting notes.
Ludo's gonna hate this.
Alright, so, Arcane Council meeting minutes. So this would be relevant to what Ludo was talking about with, like, the Arcane Council being on board with what the Inquest are doing and so forth. So we may see some indications here that shenanigans are afoot. We see the various members, minus Udo, attending. Also minus Councillor Canny, who's apparently guiding an ecological research study in Cantha. Ludo was meeting the Tyrian Alliance, so this is who was in Flax, Haya, Vark, Zudo, Yak, Bleent, and Flunt. Of course, we all love Flunt. We're in the meeting. A petition was proposed to change the time of the meetings to Canthan Standard Time so that he does not have to disrupt his daily tea ceremony. The petition will be taken into consideration. Like, the incredible, like, absurdity of this is actually kind of enjoyable, of all of this thing. Councillor Vark volunteered to read a letter from Councillor Ludo. She says that the Captain's Council will be hosting a summit between the nations of Cantha and Alona 2 weeks from today in Lion's Arch. Cantha will be demonstrating their new ley-infused jade filters, and Councillor Ludo has suggested that the Council send students from each of the colleges to watch. Councillor Yak dismissed the notion, expressing concern over wasting resources. Councillor Flunt seconded Yak's concerns. Councillor Zudo dissented, but was quickly dismissed by High Councillor Flax. High Councillor Flax has pivoted to issue a formal complaint about the catering, noting that the blueberry tarts are dry and unsatisfying. Councillor Bleent and Yak agree. By the way, I think it actually says somewhere, yeah, catering has been provided by Chef Praz. So, like, this catering thing is like an ongoing thing, right? Councillor Yak notes that the ooze custard, however, is superb. Given that, the formal complaints against the blueberry tarts have been dismissed. We're halfway through the notes, and tarts are the most important thing going on. Councillor Zudo once again brought up her petition to give the colleges additional access to funding following recent budget cuts. She claims that multiple research crews have expressed concerns about funding and may need to halt progression. High Councillor Flax asked asked to delay discussing the petition, citing a lack of preparedness, but suggested that each of these crews submit requests for funding so they can be assessed individually. This suggestion satisfied Councilor Zudo. It shouldn't, because we know the bureaucracy of the Asurans, right? But I guess when you come from a culture that loves bureaucracy, bureaucracy makes sense, I suppose. Since Councilor Ludo is in Lion's Arch for another week at minimum, Councilor Yak volunteered to oversee the rations and supplies that are being prepared for the Tyrian Alliance. High Councilor Flax approved. So remember, those were the supplies that were diverted, right? Two councilors discussed a playdate between their two progeny. Nothing came of it after both agreed that the children detested one another on ideological grounds. I like it. The meeting was adjourned when High Councilor Flax received an urgent note to return to the usability station. The Arcane Council will reconvene when Councilors Ludo and Canny return from business outside Radasum. Okay, so a little bit, not a lot. Letters of correspondence.
Well, this confirms Flax's involvement. The High Counselor working with the Inquest behind closed doors.
High Counselor, so that being Flax, receiving this letter. When the rest of Tyria witnesses and respects Radasum as the monument of Tyrian brilliance, Asuran brilliance, you will know that we made the correct choice. I will inform the Inquest that they are free to depart. They will not be stopped. Your friend, Councilor Yak. So yes, this letter confirms that Flax is in bed with the Inquest. And I think there's an implication here, and I think that implication is that the emergence of Cantha and their technological advancements has made the High Council so concerned about parity and about a certain ability to keep up that they're willing to take questionable steps to maintain some Asuran supremacy, and that includes the Inquest, right? Research volumes. One of the open files is an application submitted by Ziba requesting job transfer to... oh, no, that's Office Council again. All right, research volumes.
This must be where they're headed. I wonder what else Zin knew.
Okay, so this is Zin's stuff. And Zin represents, like I kind of mentioned this a minute ago, Zin represents arcane knowledge, if you will. So when we encounter something from Zin, we should perceive it as esoteric in nature and potentially dangerous, right? High Counselor, this is the passage that I spoke of. So this is like notes in the margin. What's in italics here? High Counselor, this is the passage that I spoke of before. When we meet next, I would be happy to share the rest. I worry about circulating too much information unprotected, especially before our imminent departure. Our imminent departure implies that these notes in the margins are from Inquest. After poring through Lanuso's journal, there are a handful of assumptions I can make about traveling to the island of Castora. 1. Based on various maps and documents that I've been able to uncover in Lion's Arch, I believe I've identified the correct landmass. Now this is interesting because Castora's never really come up before in Guild Wars 2, so this is one of a number of places in Guild Wars 2 that most certainly exist, but have never been mentioned to the player before and may be unknown or obscured for some reason for majority of Tyrians. I believe I've identified the correct landmass. It is to the far southwest, farther than most sailors have traveled. This aligns with various statements found throughout the source text. 2. It would be a deeply complex journey. While I suspect that it is about equal distance traveling from the Tyrian mainland to the Canthan continent, that stretch of ocean is highly treacherous. Most sailors that I consulted with have urged me to proceed with immense caution, if not drop the aspiration entirely. Not only did many refute the existence of such place, but the general consensus is that modern vessels may not be enough to make it there intact. 3. Based on some of Lanuso's accounts, I am not entirely sure what to expect in terms of danger. There are hundreds of sketches of creatures I've never seen, references to incomprehensible magic, a dream to any researcher, explorer, or innovator, but perhaps more than I can conquer when the rest of the continent is focused on the rise of the White Mantle. So that would be like Janther Wilds, right? When we were dealing with like the Titans, right? Because that was directly tied to the White Mantle. 4. But I cannot ignore the possibility of what I may find on that island. Well, I can only guess based on the desperate musings of a now deceased lab specimen. I don't know what that means, but I have like a conspiracy theory on that. I have a theory. The picture that has been painted for me is one of intrigue and existential revelation. Imagine Rata Novus, which is already a spectacle of innovation, but better, no restrictions, limitless power. Now deceased lab specimen. So if you go back all the way to Season 2, you will recall, and it actually happens before Season 2, but we learn about it in Season 2, because we relive it through Kaith's memories. So really we're going back to the first couple years of Sylvari existence, right after the Sylvari quote-unquote birth. And we might remember that they were treating Sylvari as lab specimens, that they were novelties, that they weren't being treated as sentient creatures by the Assurance. If you play through this Sylvari personal story, there is, and I can't remember the guy's name now, but there's a Sylvari that appeared to come from another tree and has apparently like wandered the world. That may or may not be what this is a reference to, but they're definitely referencing the desperate musing. So this now deceased lab specimen appears to have been sentient and spoke of Castoris. So very interesting. Blank page, because this is an army field manual and they have intentionally blank pages. Finally, crumpled memo.
Good to know Ludo isn't alone in all of this. I can't imagine all of Radisum aligning with the Inquest. Well, that confirms it. Time to get out of here.
Indeed. Alright, so Director Azuli sending a letter to High Counselor Flax. High Counselor, I demand any and all information on your little audit of my database. Must I remind you that this is my jurisdiction and does not follow protocol, which even you must obey? I am more than happy to direct my crew to assist the Arcane Council in whatever skylarking they pursue, but not blindly. I expect answers, or I will take my distaste to the next public forum with the Council and City Directors. So some other Asura trying to hold Counselor Flax responsible in some way, right?
I'm so sorry. Oh, God, let me try again.
Oh, Zeba.
All day.
Oh, Zeba. Poor little Zeba. I should make a Zeba character. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will. Okay. Oh, I'm in a hurry, but I can't mount. Counselor Ludo, I have learned things.
Flax is in on the whole thing. Coordinated with Inquest leadership to raid Zin's storage facility for data. They're headed to an island called Castora, searching for something, but they were smart enough not to write it down.
Damn it.
Castora, huh? I've heard the name. A seafarer's fable. It's an island to the far southwest. A couple weeks' journey, at minimum. Not approachable, best I know. I haven't heard of anyone going and leaving. But that explains why they needed ships. Too far for airship capability, and I didn't think it was even possible by sea. That's a very dangerous stretch of ocean. But such a journey could put my name next to Margaret's. I could surpass her glory, even. I can try to get you there, Commander, if we think it's a good idea. If the Inquest think they can reach the island, I bet we can, too.
Calm, Captain. I'll confirm with the Alliance for the sake of protocol, but as a counselor of Radisum, I'll encourage it. As for the Arcane Council...
I do not envy your status, Ludo.
Neither do I.
Alright, so again, I think that's pretty good voice acting. I also think they did something interesting here with the dialogue. All that kind of monologuing by Saida I found interesting because she talks about how inaccessible Castora is, and then justifies why she would go there anyway, and immediately volunteers to the commander to go there. And I think in the past, ArenaNet would have created a situation where we persuade Saida of that, and the justification would essentially be the same, and maybe she would even say, oh, you know, go get this thing for me or whatever, and maybe I'll do it, you know, like, which is the circumstances in which we originally met Saida, right, was something like that. That would have been a little more laborious. In this case, they didn't do that. They cut straight to the chase by making a compelling argument within her monologue and then her offering to do it. So they kind of streamline things. That could have been awkward, though, because it kind of leaves the player going, whoa, like Saida's having this whole moment. But then they address that through the dialogue also by having Ludo say, calm, Captain. So we have another character addressing what the player might feel about that monologue, which then normalizes it for the player. And I think that's actually pretty skillful dialogue writing, for what it's worth. I have never written a screenplay, and I have no education to support that sort of assessment, so that's just my personal opinion. But I think it's good. Counselor Ludo, you have more to say?
I'm going to touch base with my sister next. She's been overseeing some changes to the dynamics curriculum. Hard to book. But if Flax and Yak are moving in shadow, I need to make sure the rest of the Arcane Council is ready to take action.
Huh. Okay. I actually don't know what your sister had to do with that. That's actually a confusing thing. But tell her hi for me. Saida.
Castora is the sort of place that you hear stories about, but question its existence. This is a once-in-a-lifetime voyage. It's appeared on our maps under a few names, and you can see it if you stray far enough from the route to Cantha. I'm sure people have tried to land, but since we never heard those stories, they likely never made it back. But it's a strange choice for the Inquest. We don't know what's there, though perhaps they do now.
They do because of Zin's documents? Maybe? Most certainly, right? And I don't know if that gets confirmed, to be honest, in the first DLC of this expansion. So as a reminder, when it comes to the DLCs of this expansion, with both Soto and Janthier Wilds, they released new story with each quarterly expansion. So the big expansion drop, and then 3 story installments after that. They are not doing that with Visions of Eternity. With Visions of Eternity, the first patch will not have story, and then there will be 2 story patches. This is being, as players, we are being told this is to ensure a better story, and that it will not be less story. It's just going to be delivered in a different cadence to provide better story. So we will see. Visions of Eternity will lose some of its glow if ultimately it just results in less story and the story is not actually better. Although thus far it is, so there you go. We will see. Okay, so I'm ending this video here because I know that the next segment is actually long-ish, and I don't want this video to be like crazy long. It's already hour-ish, so we're not going to go any further on this one, but I'm going to turn around and do the next video right now. So we have learned of this Inquest expedition. We've learned that they're going to Castora. We don't know anything about Castora, but it seems bad, and apparently the commander has nothing better to do now that the Titans have been put down and the commander's just doing commander things. So we are going to, apparently, because Saida has volunteered this, we are going to pursue the Inquest towards Castora, and that's where we will pick up when we come back. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I will see you presumably on the high seas. Have a good one.